On first hearing of this parable, it sounds like we're talking about investing well, or at least put your money in a bank where it'll get a little bit of interest. Could Jesus be a capitalist after all of these stories we've heard about him sharing? Is Jesus really talking about money here? Well, could be, because we know that Jesus talked about money more than any other subject in his ministry. But could this story be about something more? So we have a man, he's gone on a journey, and he entrusts his servants with some of his money, a talent, which was a unit of money in the ancient world. And they're given different amounts of the talents. One's given 5, one's given 2, one's given 1. And the first 2 servants take their talents and they invest them, and they double the investment. And then there's the third servant with 1 talent who goes and buries it in the ground. And at first reading you say, okay, at least he didn't lose any money. Could this be a parable about money and putting our resources to good use? Well, pastors love this story, especially on Stewardship Sunday. It's pretty obvious, isn't it? What the talents are about. If we hoard our money, if we play it safe, we miss possibilities. We miss opportunities for life. This week I had a delightful conversation with one of our members. I went to thank this person for their generous gifts to the church. I had not known until we were doing kind of a report on the building project how much this person had given. It was very quiet. And in the course of the conversation, this person said, I do think I have enough resources for the rest of my life. The church can expect more. I would much rather the church have the money and do something good with it than for it to go to the government. I'd rather the church have the money and do something good with it. I love talking about money in the church because we do good things with our money. I love to talk with people about their generosity and see the smile on their face. It warms my heart that someone is so trusting of what they have as resources for life, but also feels so trusting of how their church can make a difference with their money. I think we could focus on money here on this parable and about how we can put our money to good use, about how we can be good stewards of this money, about how ERUCC has been blessed with bequests and monies that we've put aside in endowment funds for mission and education and taking care of our buildings, how grateful we are for those gifts, and how grateful we are for the trust the donors have placed in us. But we take a certain risk with those funds. We don't believe that those funds should just be sitting someplace as a safety net for some time or something in the future. We believe that those gifts were given to us to be put to work. So yeah, we take a certain amount of risk investing them in funds with the United Church of Christ. There's a certain element of risk in that, but we also have a trust that the United Church of Christ that has our values and is concerned about the things we're concerned about will take those monies and multiply them in ways that will give us more for our mission and our ministry. You see, good stewardship isn't just about holding on to the funds and making sure that they're invested wisely. Good stewardship is also about how we use those funds to make a difference in the world. And that's where I think this parable speaks to us today. Spending the money involves courage and risk. I think Jesus is talking more here about having courage and having the risk to invest in the gospel, of taking the power that Jesus has given to each of us and making a difference in the world. You see, when you read the text, each of those servants has been given talents according to his ability. And the word ability in Greek comes from the word dynamis. Dynamite? Power? The master has given these talents according to the power that he believes each one of them has. That each of them has power to do something with those gifts. And do we take a risk, as two of the servants did, and invest those talents? Or do we play it safe and bury it in the ground? Now, the third man is not a bad man. We could argue that, like many of us, he's cautious, he's careful, he's going to put it into a savings account and nothing else because he doesn't want to lose any of it. And maybe when the master returns, he thinks the master is going to be proud because at least he didn't lose any of it. But the master has this surprising answer. The third man is thrown into the outer darkness where there's weeping and gnashing of teeth, and you say, wow, that sounds pretty harsh. But that weeping and gnashing of teeth, the outer darkness, is a metaphor for death. By playing it safe, by burying his power and his gifts in the ground, man might as well be dead. No joy, no life, no hope. And you say to yourself, well, what if those other two servants had invested in some kind of high venture capital scheme and lost everything? What would the master have said then? We don't know. We do know what the master said about the one who didn't take a chance, who didn't risk, who didn't take the power and the courage to make a difference. See, I don't think the point of Jesus' parable is about doubling your money or accumulating wealth. I think Jesus' parable is about investing in life. It's about taking risks for life, because the greatest risk is not to do anything at all. The greatest risk in life is to play it safe, to live so cautiously and prudently that you can't enjoy life. And we've all had relatives like that, haven't we? Where they save every penny and then they die not enjoying anything because they worried about it their whole life. And you think, what joy was that? They might as well have buried that money in the ground. Maybe some of them really did keep it under the mattress like we used to talk about. But think about not knowing the joy of having made a difference in your own lifetime. That's what made this visit with one of our members so fun this week, is because this person knows. This person can see how they're making a difference here and now in their life. We had the theme of this week's women's retreat was living fearlessly, with the emphasis on living. How do we deal with our fears? How do we move out of comfort zones and take a risk to try something new so that we may have life and have it more abundantly? Okay, that's why Kathy and Will are sitting on the other side of the church today. They intentionally decided to move out of their comfort zone. They always are over here, by the way. I know where all of you sit, so I know if you've moved out of your comfort zone there. But part of what we talked about at this women's retreat was about how living in fear can create this wheel of what some people call toxic worry, where any chance we have of trying something new or taking a risk gets buried with that fear. And then our lives are ruled by fear, not by joy. Not by joy at all. I'm grateful that Cliff and Laura were our stewardship moment speakers today. Did you hear the risk that they shared about their family being raised in this church when they have different understandings of their belief systems? And how about Cliff? What does that say about our church, that Cliff could stand up here and tell all of us why he supports this church? Thank you for taking the risk, Cliff and Laura, today. A willingness to say, I believe so strongly about what this church is doing that I'll stand up here and say that and trust that this community will receive it. Jesus invites us on an adventure of faith. An adventure of faith. Jesus invites us to be brave. Jesus invites us to be bold. Jesus has said over and over, be not afraid. 365 times in the Bible, those words are there, do not be afraid. One for every day of the year. My friends, let us be brave. Let us be bold. Let us give God thanks, whether we have 1 talent, 2 talent, 5 talents, or 100,000 talents. May we be wise in how we invest those talents. May God continue to give us the courage and the risk to take what we have and the power that God has given to us, and let us share and invest those talents so that we may have life and have it more abundantly, and so may the whole world have life and have it more abundantly. Thanks be to God. Amen.